Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where all friends, fans come together, BS, argue, occasionally agree, and discuss a musical artist. I'm your host, Jason. Your other host is Tim.
Sabbath.
And Bill.
Yo.
That was the weakest intro you've ever done, man.
Bullshit. I've 100% done weaker.
That was pretty weak. All right, well, today
Welcome
we're
to the show,
talking.
Bill.
Today we're talking Dehumanizer. 1992, post Nevermind, post Pearl Jam's 10.
Oh my
Post
god.
Black
Post
album.
Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Post Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Post Faith No More. We're going to talk about
We touched on it in the last album. If you're watching along, right? You're following along with the playlist like you should be. If not, click the links down below. We're covering all of these albums. This feels like we're entering the 90s as opposed to Tear, where Tear is like the 80s leftovers. This So obviously, there's a lineup change. Dio was the first one to come aboard, and that prompted Cozy Powell to quit the band. Cozy Powell and Dio were both famously in Rainbow together back in the 70s. Highly recommend, if you haven't heard Rainbow's Rising album, check it out. They're both phenomenal on that album, as is Richie Blackmore and everybody else. So yeah, apparently Cozy Powell and Dio did not like each other, so Cozy Powell refused to work with Dio. So at that point, it was, well, let's bring Vinny Appice back. And then at that point, it's like, well, I wonder if we can get Geezer back. And they got Geezer back. And man, they got some magic back on this album. I got this is this was probably the album cycle I first really started following Sabbath on. And I remember, hearing a song or two. I heard like TV Crimes was the single. And of course, The Time Machine was on Wayne's World. And so I heard some of it, and like they were doing pretty good in the press at this time because this is a big deal. This is, a reunion with Dio. Well, if that's possible, guess what else might be possible? Well,
Ozzy.
well, we won't think about that. Let's just work with Dio for now, and
Yeah.
keep Geezer happy. Um, and this is an album that like really got buried by grunge. This is like an album I think that because of the rise of grunge was just destroyed in the sales, but time has been kind to it. I hear this album and I hear a magic that I haven't heard in Black Sabbath since Heaven and Hell. Um, yeah, like Computer God's a great opener. It's a super doomy album too. Like I know I've been saying it for the last couple albums where Tony Iommi really is headed in this doomy direction where his riffs work really good the slower they get. Um, After All the Dead is incredible. TV Crimes I love. That was the single. Letters from Earth is great. Um, Master of Insanity is top song contender. If only for that intro. You got a sweet bass groove from Geezer coming in, and then just nastiness. It's so good. And then, side two, it kind of slacks off a little bit. Time Machine is great. Sins of the Father's really good. Too Late, probably the low point for me. I think I is the buried gem. That song is a monolith. It's just a giant beast of a riff. Buried Alive. It's great. Um, it's interesting. Again, I wasn't into the album when it came out, but I was certainly aware of Sabbath. And then as I, grew up and started really getting into Sabbath, this was the one that really surprised me at just how good it is. And it's an album I'd like to see its reputation get redone a little bit because I think it gets buried in A with grunge and B with the Tony Martin era. But this is actually like a shining beacon of light in this discography that we haven't had for a number of albums. That's what I got
I
to say about it. How about you guys?
I would love to follow that up.
Sing us a song, yeah, sing it.
Um,
Dio's, they all sound great. Like the room sounds great. The tones are great. Dio sounds powerful, but not too cheesy. Yeah.
well, I'd like to follow that up. Me being the Dio fan here,
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, you love Dio.
I love that motherfucker. All right, Computer God.
Like
It
a rainbow in the dark.
was actually a decent opening track. I love the drum
Tony
fills on it.
Diamond.
After all, I'll be damned. Another good one. This one feels heavier than the previous run of albums. The lyrics are better as well. TV Crimes. I may have found my second top song with Dio after Country Girl. TV Crimes kind of rips. Again, lyrics have stepped up. Favorite line, got to send me a plastic Jesus. There's a check in the mail today. I want a buddy Jesus. There are others as well. Jack is nimble, Jack is quick. Pick your pocket, turn a trick. This is a good one. Letters from Earth. Unlike the 80s stuff, this one doesn't go into goofy, over the top, cheesy choruses. The chorus on this album The choruses on this album are just as heavy as the fucking verses. Master of Insanity, no issues. Time Machine fucking rips. Uh Sounds great. Dio fucking sounds great on this shit. Even on the chorus, he goes higher, but not kicked in the nuts high. This is some good shit. Sons of the Father, is Dio trying to sound like Ozzy on this one? Either way,
Right. It is very Aussie there.
it works though. It works for me. I love how it slowly builds and just keeps picking up pace. Too late. I was about to write this one off as the mandatory, boring, quiet, slow song that you gotta have on the album, but it starts to pick up and it starts to do cool things about 2 minutes in. Never really takes off, but that's fine. The guitar and the drums are interesting enough, and I wasn't bored with it like Odin's Chord or Feels Good to Me. It's so dumb lyrically that I kind of liked it. I'm standing alone, but I can rock you. Buried Alive, it's got a groove to it. I'm assuming probably Geezer being back contributed to that. It's pretty
Uh,
fucking good.
Listening to it again, I really did notice how, we talked about how if Iomi's there at Sabbath, right? Because that sound is there. But man, Geezer
Geezer
just brings
is
the secret
just
sauce.
yeah. Geezer is just as fucking important. I remember I
Yeah,
pinged you the other
well,
day. I'm like,
all four original members. You throw Bill back in there, it's gonna be great,
yeah.
It's gonna bring some sauce.
I didn't have an issue really with this one.
Bill,
So I've always been an actual fan of Dio. Go check out our ratings to this point here. Um, this one, I going in, I wasn't as familiar with this album. Um, But I knew Tim had mentioned that this was the one that Dio came back on. And he also mentioned Geezer coming back on as well.
And Vinny
And
Appice.
yep. And you can sound some of that magic coming back. You really could. Um, I'm gonna just talk real briefly here because you guys have hit a lot of what I was gonna talk about here. Master of Insanity, absolutely for me, top song contender. I would argue that. High point of the album, not to dismiss any other part of this album, but that song was absolutely awesome. I mean, that song could have been on Heaven and Hell or Hell. It potentially could have been on any of those initial six albums, honestly. And it would have fucking fit right in and sounded awesome. Um, the opener, Computer God, it's it's another opener that some of the magic that we didn't get much in those 80s Black Sabbath albums. And we got some of that Black Sabbath opening magic coming back in it. And Buried Alive, likely same thing again with the closer. Some of that magic was coming back again. Um, TV Crimes as a single, I will say, I wasn't, when I say I wasn't a fan of it, I mean, when comparing it to other Black Sabbath singles up to this point. Um, it's a good song, solid song, but it's not at the level that I want a Black Sabbath single to be. I guess I don't know how else to describe it.
I don't know. I guess I just love that riff in the verse too much. I think it's just
I mean,
gnarly.
the riff is great, but I think it kind of loses beyond the chorus, honestly, a little bit. And it's not to say it's bad. It's just again comparing it to its counterparts.
Sure,
However,
sure.
comparing
Repeated
literally,
listens, my friend. Repeated
yeah,
listens.
I mean, comparing everything on this album to literally anything released by Black Sabbath after Heaven and Hell, I don't think that there's a candle comparison, really. Um, like even because this it's the same lineup as Bob Rules, right?
Yes.
I I wouldn't even throw this. I mean, yeah, it's the same people, but I wouldn't throw this in the same boat as Mob Rules necessarily, though. Like it's got a different feel to it. It's got a different tone. It has a different level of maybe not necessarily creativeness, but it's got a different level of what's the opposite of simplicity? Complexity. That's what it is.
Complexity. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That word. Um, that really helps hone everything in here. And yeah, I mean, Jason's commenting how it's, post Nevermind and post 10 and everything else. But like, cycling back to what I mentioned on tier, it's a 10-track album, Black Sabbath. 10-track Black Sabbath album. Like it's, you know what you're getting,
which is nothing new.
but what you expected to be getting after listening to the 80s is not what you got here. You got what you would have gotten expected after listening to the 70s and knowing that Ozzy was no longer there.
True. That's a true statement. There's hints here and there in the 80s, but not.
It's the good hints of the 80s, though, right? Like, it's not,
Well, and
it's,
I wonder how much of that is Geezer's influence. Because, Tony's been trucking along. But,
I
when
think
Geezer adds
Geezer.
that secret sauce, I think the
Uh,
riffs elevate.
yeah, I think Geezer is a huge part of
I
And
Sabbath.
even
mean,
Vinny Appice, like, he doesn't quite swing like Bill swings. But Vinny's got his own swing that works really well with Dio's voice, I think. And I think Tony and Geezer fit into that really well. And I think that at this point, I would say that this is probably like the second best lineup.
What would be the
Second
first?
only to the one, yeah.
Second only to what?
To the only lineup.
The Black Sabbath lineup.
Right.
Oh well, yeah, yeah.
But if we're gonna put out
I
all these other albums as Black Sabbath and take them seriously, and I do, these Dio albums have their own vibe, but they're all solid. And even the other ones, right?
this one's gonna be a hard one to rank.
Who's got to guess it?
Well, I should say this
Jason.
one's gonna be a hard one to guess. Let's see. I think Tim. Let's just move all of them down. Am I on the right track?
You are on the right track.
Oh, God, there's so many records. Number 5.
That's going to be a little too high,
Too high. Okay.
but you're on the right track.
Do I need to go all the way back here?
No, you know what? Okay, so here's the deal with it, right? If Heaven and Hell can break the first 6 album wall,
Which you can't.
and I like this one better than Heaven and Hell, then it's got to break the wall. So it doesn't matter at that point. So we're going to put it better than the first album, but not better than Volume 4.
Okay. I don't understand
There are
that.
now 8 Black Sabbath albums you can trust.
I don't understand that. How it's better than Heaven and Hell, but you have it put in number 7. You got Heaven and Hell.
Well, I might be calling a mulligan on Heaven and Hell. That's possible
That's
too.
weird to me.
Actually, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's flip Heaven and Hell on Volume 4.
Well,
And
that's
then
still
move Dehumanizer and Heaven and Hell. Yeah.
okay. So like that.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, Bill. He's not gonna like Dehumanizer more than Heaven and Hell, but he's got that number 1. He's gonna like it more than these. More than that, more than that, more than that. Let's go ahead and move that there. Put that over here so I can grab it later. Because there's so many fucking albums. Alright. He's going to like it more than that. Probably more than that. Sabotage is so good, though. Probably more than Sabotage, but not more than Master.
I mean, you're right that I don't like it more than Master. I do think I like Sabotage more. Now, here's the dilemma. Because I haven't listened to Volume 4 at length now for over a month after and trying to rank it compared to it. Like
Well,
this is the dilemma, like where I've had to unfortunately go back and listen to some of those initial Black Sabbath albums. Which
Oh,
is why I know I
bummer.
don't which is why I know I don't like it as much as Sabotage. I didn't get to listen to Volume 4 again though.
well, you
To
should.
solidify.
If you want to pull a
Right.
mulligan later, that's fine. But you should probably pull a mulligan later. You
And
should
you
go
should
Well,
back
probably
that
listen
to
to Volume
Volume
4.
4. Yeah, you need to go back to Volume 4.
I mean, I'm gonna put Dehumanizer right in there for right now. That's 7.
Okay.
Knowing that it very well could go back to 8.
Okay. So it's broke the first 3 Sabbath. Well, I guess it didn't, but all right.
But it broke the first 4.
Where did I put it? I put it pretty high too. Not as high as you guys, but this was a pretty solid album. So I'm gonna put it right there. I think this is the best thing they've done
Since robots having sex.
Yes.
Since Ozzy.
Yeah, boy. I mean, I got an Ozzy album that's kind of dropped a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, yeah. That one does tend to drop, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But
But it's a solid album.
so far, like based on like Tear and Dehumanizer, I think the '90s they're starting to sound better. Like the only thing I could knock Dehumanizer for is the it sounds like it was recorded in 1982 as opposed to 1992. Like the production on it, it's not bad production. It's just not good either. I think Tears sounded better production wise, but there's nothing I didn't
But
like
I
on this
also think
album.
that grittiness adds to Dehumanizer. It gives it a
Maybe,
weight that maybe Tear was missing.
yeah.
Because
I mean,
I agree, Tear is technically a better produced album, and it sounds amazing.
yeah. I mean, Dehumanizer is a better album. Like it just fucking
It is, yeah.
that like that's the Sabbath you kind of want. Like
Hmm.
that's the Sabbath you need.
It's the Sabbath you need.
The Sabbath we deserve.
Yeah, I don't know if we deserve it, but
Well, we were
stick
gifted with
around.
4 albums, so
Stick
Shit, we're almost at
around.
the end of this.
Cross Purposes is next.
guess who's
And
playing drums on that one?
Top Girl.
we will be covering The Devil You Know as well. So
Yeah,
we're counting that. So stick
Oh
around
shit,
for
we only
that.
got 4 albums left?
in the
Uh,
bonus episode.
yeah,
Oh,
plus a
and yeah.
bonus episode. We're going to talk some live Sabbath.
Yeah.
Stick around for that. As always, Black Sabbath, Sabbath Sunday will continue. Check out our normal shit. We're talking 1990s. I mean, I think Dehumanizer made Tim's top 10 for.
It did, for sure.
Yeah, we talked about it before. So stick around, be safe, and make good decisions.
And then you go a little woo, and then a little whoop, 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 and then it's all, and then you're ready to go again.